I've got love all over me. And baby, you touch every part of me. Ooh. And I'm telling you, I never felt a love like this before. Hold up, what do you mean I made Parole? Parole? I wasn't expecting to make Parole and go home. No. It's got to be a mistake. I done got 15 write-ups. I still got another 12 years left on the shelf to serve on my sentence, and they trying to send me home away from my baby? No, that ain't happening. Listen, I'm going to go on and take his parole because I can be better for both of us on the outside, but I'll never forget you. I'll never leave you. I don't want to leave you. Oh, my God, I don't want to go home. Yo, once again, it's on back at you one more again. Real Ken's TV in the house like kitchen sinks. We're going to take this all the way back to 2001. First time in the penitentiary. Really, it's not even a good thing to say the first time. It really should have been the first and only time. Actually, it shouldn't even have been the first time. It should have been no time. But nevertheless, it is what it is. First time in the penitentiary. It was at the end of 2001. Never even spent over 30 days in the county jail. They packed me up. They called me in the morning, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, B&B. B&B means pack it up. When you hear your name, when you hear the correctional officers call B&B at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and your name is called Ken's, B&B, pack it up. You're going to the joint. You're going to the pen. You're getting out of that county jail. Well, I had been in the county jail maybe all of 30 days, had never spent the longest time that I had been incarcerated. I didn't come up getting in trouble when I was a youth. For you all that don't know anything about me, I always came up, went to school, had good grades, played sports, went to college, played football, baseball, went to Kentucky State University. I didn't really come up in that lifestyle. It was just that I came into a large sum of money at an early stage in my life, my early 20s, and having 80 grand under my mattress, it felt kind of good. So once that money was gone, because I didn't really know what to do with it, guess what? I missed the lifestyle. So I got into the streets. I started doing illegal activities. Next thing you know, I catch a case. He doesn't have a criminal record. They give me probation. Lo and behold, I catch another case, probably, 6 months, a year later, what have you. And guess what? Off to the pen I go. B&B, pack it up. We are we got. Little New Jack City for you all that are familiar with New Jack City. Nevertheless, they sent me to the Rotary Farm. You go to the Rotary Farm in Kentucky. You have to go there to get processed. You have to go there to get, what they do is, they do all your, you get a physical, you get a mental evaluation. They evaluate you or what have you, and they determine, it's actually called classification. But they do all of those things to ultimately call it classification. And they determine where you're going to do your time. Me, I wanted to go to Blackburn. Blackburn's a low-level security prison camp, if you call it, if you will. But the problem was I still had a pending case. Now, my pending case was over with because, as I mentioned, I was on probation. I called another case. So, I don't know if I mentioned it or not. But if I didn't, then that's what it is. If I did, that's what it is. So, I caught another case while I was on probation. Yeah, I did mention it because I said 6 months later. Anyway, I caught another case, and they sent me to Lee County in Beattyville, Kentucky, 2001. I couldn't understand why I was there because my case was over with, but the paperwork hadn't caught up with the actual case. So once they classify you and they send it in to the DOC, which is the Department of Corrections, they send it in. They know that you have a pending case, but that pending case paperwork has to catch up with your DOC paperwork. Otherwise, you're going behind the fence. Now, back then, when you went behind the fence, which is with the lions, tigers, and bears, that's not to say that people at camps are not lions, tigers, and bears, because a lot of times that's where you see a lot of the violence at. But nevertheless, they sent me to Lee County, and probably about a week and a half later, my paperwork caught up. So my custody level dropped, but guess what? I'm stuck behind the fence now. I'm behind the fence with lifers, dudes that got 30, 40, 50 years or whatever. So I'm like, oh my God. Again, I had never been incarcerated more than 30 days prior to this. So they sent me to Lee Adjustment Center. It's a private prison. I get there, I don't know what's going on. The reason why is because there were still clothes on the yard. For you all that never been in prison, clothes on the yard mean clothes on the yard. So what I have on now, I could legitimately wear on the yard. Now, they were in the process of taking the clothes off the yard, and they were going to require everyone to wear khaki uniforms, a khaki shirt, khaki pants, and you could have tennis shoes, but you had to purchase them from them, and they had to be all whites. You could have a little gray in them. Your t-shirts, if you want to wear t-shirts, they had to be all white or gray. Same with your shorts. Now, actually, your shorts had to be gray. So they were going through a transition period, but when I initially got there, everybody looked, it was like I didn't know staff from inmates. So you would say, well, just look at the badge. Yeah, but a lot of people wore their badge backwards, so you couldn't see their face. And it's not like you're going up to somebody saying, let me see if this is an inmate. You get your noodle pushed all the way backwards, meddling. Meddling's worse than stealing, especially in the penitentiary. I always keep that in mind. So I'm there. Luckily, when I get there, it's a ton of my homeboys. It's a ton of dudes from Lexington there. Now, when you go to Lee County initially, you go to a what's called a transition dorm. So you'll be in the transition dorm. It's like a temporary dorm. You'll be in there for about 30, 40 days or what have you. And then at that point, they'll assign you a regular dorm, a regular bed, and that's where you'll go. So I'm there, I'm not even the best person in the world to get along with at that point because I'm pissed, I'm locked up, I'm supposed to be going to boot camp. I don't know what's going on with boot camp. Boot camp is for first-time offenders. I don't know what's going on. I'm calling my girl. All of a sudden, my daughter at the time, she was like, I don't know, maybe 2. My girl's not answering the phone. I don't know what's going on. So I'm not the best person in the world to get along with. But I'm still cool. It's not like I'm, going around there looking for trouble or whatever. Just the people that I did know, I was just very, very distant. These are people that I came up with, went to school with, played baseball and football and basketball and all that stuff with coming up. But I just didn't have a whole lot of rap because in my mind, it was just like, man, I don't even belong here. But I clearly did because guess what? I broke the law. But it was like, no, I need to get to this boot camp. I told my baby girl, when she was little, she didn't understand. I was supposed to be home in 11 months. The judge ran all my time wild, which means stacked all my time together. I did the dumbest things, man. I was in court. In court, hopefully you all never be there. But if you ever find yourself in that situation, show contrition. Show some remorse. Act as though you care. Act as though you committed the worst crime in the world. I was before the Judge Van Meter. I never will forget. I'm like, well, Yana, I was talking, what have you. And I was like, it was just some white collar, counterfeiting. It ain't like I killed nobody. It ain't like I went out here and was robbing people, man. Why did I say that? But I'm young. I'm probably 22 at the time, maybe. Oh, man, he stacked all my time together, gave me 13 years. Oh, my God. I couldn't believe it. Now, 13 years in Kentucky is not 13 years as it may be in other places, as long as it's nonviolent. On a 13-year sentence, I was going to have to do 2.5, actually a little bit more than 2.5 years just to see the parole board. So I had boot camp as my, in my back pocket, if you will. Boot camp ended up shutting down. I didn't get to go to boot camp. So I ended up stuck at Lee Adjustment Center. Had to stay there for at least 6 months before I got classified. So during the time I was there, I'm peeping everything that's going on the yard. I'm seeing, I'm trying to adjust. Again, I ain't never did 30 days in the county jail. So I'm adjusting. I see a situation, man. I run into a situation. And this is something that didn't just happen in a day. It just kind of transitioned over time. Dude, Big Melvin. Big Melvin, probably 6'2". As I've told you all in previous videos, I'm not really good with guessing weights. Probably 225, 220, 225. But he was cut up, chiseled up. I'm talking about, man, he was just a cut up. He was a specimen, pause. Matter of fact, double pause. Because I don't want to call another grown man a specimen. But that's just what it was, man. So, built dude. Back then, you didn't have to. Now, I believe in the penitentiary, you're required to have a job. Back then, you didn't. So, dudes were, first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock when the yard opens, 7:30 or whatever, they at the weight pile. They've eaten breakfast or what have you before that. They in the weight pile. Yard opens back up again once it shuts down, because they shut down for count right around 11:30. 12:30, back in the weight pile again. Goes all the way up until probably like 3:30. They do shift change. Second shift comes in. Yard opens back up. 4:30, 5 o'clock, you go eat. Weight pile again for the third time. And they was doing it 6 days a week. At least 6 days. Sometimes 7. But at least 6 days a week. On a bad week, on a slow week, 5 times a week. That's why them dudes be so swole when you see them on these prison videos and when they get out of prison. So when your wife's working at a prison and you're thinking, oh, my wife wouldn't be interested in them convicts, you may want to take a second, evaluation of the situation, especially if you're not treating her well. Them dudes are dudes like anybody else on the streets. Plus, they got more time. They have more. They're studying your wives. They're studying the women. So, hey, how you doing today? Why you look so sad? Initially it won't go like that. But let's just say you have to go to the nurse's office every day, or you work in the canteen, or you work in the kitchen, or it's women everywhere. So it's, at some point you're going to become comfortable enough to where you feel like, I'm going to shoot my shot. How you doing today? I no disrespect. I just noticed you're not your normal self. You're not smiling. You okay? Is everything cool? I don't want to intrude, but is everything cool? No, I'm cool. I'm okay. The next thing you know, she's opening up to an inmate. This dude, she's seeing him. He walking around the yard just swizzo, man. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, he got in the mop closet, and they bumping and grinding. I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. Now, all of a sudden, she's coming home. She's happy. The attitude that she once had, or the sadness, is gone away. But you can't understand it. So men, we don't even pay attention half the time. We're not thinking anything about it. Lo and behold, Big Melvin is doing the most with your wife or your significant other in the mop closet. True story. But nevertheless, these things go on in prison or what have you. So I'm peeping everything that's going on around me. Big Melvin, as I mentioned, getting back to Big Melvin. Like I said, he was a big swole dude or whatever, cut up. And I never really thought that Big Melvin got down like that. Come to find out, Big Melvin was interested in how can I put this? Because it's YouTube. Okay, it was a transgender on the yard. Okay, that's just what it was. There's a transgender on the yard, and the transgender we're gonna call the transgender Jarvis. You know what I mean? Jarvis was on the yard. Jarvis was young. Now let me paint the picture for you. Big Melvin was probably at the time, he had to have been probably 31, something like that. 31, 32. Had done plenty of time in the joint. Well, Jarvis was, if I had to guess, maybe 21. Like at a young age, 20, 21. I told you all Big Melvin size. Jarvis was probably 5'8", 5'9", 140 pounds. But it was a transgender. So people have jumped in my comments this week. Oh man, real Kens, not many, but a couple people. Oh, real Kens, you lying, because they will separate them and they will put them in a separate. No, my friend, not in Kentucky, not in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Now, maybe in the county jail if you request that. But I've been in the county jail and seen them in regular population. But in the penitentiary, if you didn't identify and you got to keep in mind this was 2001. See, this is 2024, so things have changed. Perhaps if you identified yourself as a woman on the streets and you were able to show proof, then maybe they would have sent you to a woman's prison. But nobody wants to be isolated, locked down in a cell 23 hours a day. You can't barely get commissary. You can't barely get rec visits and nobody. So you just go out on the yard and you chance it. So for all you people talking about, they wouldn't have done that. Yeah, they maybe, I don't know how it is, especially now, but back then, that's how it was. Longer I was there, I come to find out that Jarvis, which everybody on the yard knew, but I didn't know because, once again, I hadn't even been there long. Jarvis and Big Melvin, they was a couple. Inseparable. Now, Jarvis started out in the cell like not the cell actually, but a open dorm. An open dorm is like an army barracks. You know, you might have 50 people in your dorm, 75, 100 people in your dorm, and they're cubicles. So you got, at Lee County, you had 2-man cubicles. So it was me, then my partner that I grew up with, and then there were like walls. The walls is maybe, I don't know, 4 feet high, and next to the wall, or over top the wall, is another cubicle. So that's just kind of how the dorms were set up. So like I said, man, there was a bunch of dudes from Lexington down there, and you know, I was cool. It wasn't like I was afraid. It wasn't like I just didn't want to be there. I was trying to get home. I'm trying to get to boot camp, man. What y'all got me in the pen for, man? Y'all got me in the penitentiary for some white collar counterfeiting ass shit, man. Get me to the boot camp so I can get home to my daughter, my family, and my kids. I guess I should have thought about that before I was out there counterfeiting, right? But hindsight's 2020. So, you know, the situation that I'm watching evolve, if you will, right before my eyes, because you can't miss it. Even though I mind my own business in the penitentiary, you see no evil, you hear no evil. But you can't miss it because they're together every day. They go to the child hall together. Jarvis is at the table with Big Melvin. You can't even look up. You got to sit there and keep your head down at all times. You get caught looking around, caught talking to somebody else, Jarvis is probably gonna get that wig split, that noodle pushed all the way back. You know what I mean? 6'2", 225, 230 or whatever in the weight power every day. He's throwing up 365. He's repping 365. Big Melvin on the incline. I ain't no telling what he was doing on the regular flat bench. He's 365 in it for 5s and 6s on the incline. No game, no jokes, man. Gorilla, lions, tigers, and bears on that penitentiary yard, man. I'm telling you, man. You don't want to go to the penitentiary. So, as I mentioned, Jarvis was in an open dorm initially, but somehow got moved over in the cell with Big Melvin. So you say, well, I thought, real kids, I thought everybody was in the open dorm. No. And the open dorm is kind of like the non-violent. But if you had a cell, a 2-man cell, it means you had a violent charge. You was in a totally different dorm. Somehow, I don't know what happened. Jarvis was moved over in the cell with Big Melvin. They kicked it every day. Like I said, they would walk the loop together, which is the track in the penitentiary. It's very, very common. People walk the track. You always seen them together. They were inseparable. COs knew what was going on. They knew that they were a couple, but I guess they weren't bothering anybody, so it was just like, hey, let the chips fall where they may. I don't know, and I don't want to know. Only thing I'm doing is telling you all what I witnessed. So they've been together, what have you. I'm there every day. I'm just trying to keep a peace of mind. I done got in the weight pad and start working out. I'm bitten now. That's what they call it, bitten. I'm in my penitentiary. I'm my penitentiary mode. That's what you call it in the pen. I'm bitten. I never seen any friction. As much as I seen them together, I never seen any sort of controversy, any sort of friction, any sort of mayhem, if you will, nothing. One day, because like the thing about prison, when something happens, it hits the yard. So it's like the talk of the yard. Y'all remember in the movie Life? When and I don't even remember the character, but he was sitting there and Eddie Murphy's character, he came up, Ray, man, what you looking all sad for? And he gives him the paperwork and he's like, what? You going home? And you sitting over here looking all somber? You got the best news of the day? Man, I cut my right arm to have a letter like this and be in your position. I can't go home to my mama like this. Well, it wasn't quite that scenario, but evidently, Big Melvin found out that he had made parole. He never expected to make parole. Big Melvin would intentionally catch write-ups just so that his custody level wouldn't go down, because if his custody level went down, they was going to send him like to a camp or a lower level security prison, and he didn't want to do that. There's a whole lot of petty guards and officers there, so a lot of people prefer to stay behind the fence. Not to mention, for the last couple years, even prior, before I arrived, him and Jarvis had been kicking it. So evidently Jarvis came in right at, 18, 19 years old. Fresh 18, 19. So I guess in his mind he was molding and grooming Jarvis and like they were madly in love. type of things that you see in the penitentiary. You don't believe me? Go check out Hustle Spirit 502 featuring Big Lee and Fleece Johnson. And Fleece Johnson tells you all the stories, and I know some of y'all think that he's exaggerating. I don't know. I just know that this is what I personally seen with my own two eyes. So Melvin, he wants to turn down parole. Nah, I ain't going home. But I guess someone got in his ear and cooler heads prevailed, and he realized, okay, Jarvis don't got that much time left. Maybe another year or 2, 3 years at best. I can do better for us being out here on the streets, sending money, preparing things so that when you come home, we can be together. Melvin goes on, he takes parole. Well, when he takes parole, it takes probably another, I don't know, a month or 2 for him to leave. He's sad. Jarvis is sad. He leaves. They call him. They tell him, okay, you're going home in the morning. I'm sure that they did whatever they did that particular evening prior to him going home. He goes home. When he goes home, well, actually, when he leaves out of the gates, as soon as he walks out of the gates, guess who's waiting on him? The U.S. Marshals. I don't know if it's exactly the U.S. Marshals, but it was the authority. The sheriffs, somebody that's not good was waiting on him. He had charges that he didn't even know of, that they had been investigating. See, Melvin was that man on the street. Just because he was doing his thing, in the penitentiary, he was that man out on the streets, man. Don't get it twisted. A lot of them guys, man, that doing the most, that's what we call it in the pen, they still guerrillas. They still gangsters. They just like what they like. So don't ever get that twisted. Melvin was a stick-up kid. He had robbed a couple places, robbed a couple people, whatever. So when he got out, he never even knew that he had pending charges. He gets out, they waiting on him. His family's there to pick him up. Y'all might as well go on back home. They rearrest him. Now, you would think, if you've never been in the system, that they would just send him right back in the pen. No. They're going to take you to the county jail where those charges arose out of. Take him back to the county jail. When they take him to the county jail, they don't allow him to have any of his things, any of his belongings. It's just how most county jails are. So now he goes in, he don't have any of his property. He's heated. He don't really know what's going on. He knows what's going on, but probably in his mind he's playing as though he doesn't know, what's going on or whatever. But, he's going through the motions or whatever. Now he has to go back to arraignment, which means it's your first face-to-face meeting with the judge. Then you have a preliminary hearing, which is they introduce the evidence that they have against you. Then they have 60 days to indict you. Indictment means, okay, did a crime possibly take place? We have 60 more days to decide if a crime took place. Actually, you know what? I take that back. So let me rewind that. Now, 50 used to do G-Unit. I do the manual rewinds because sometimes I just don't feel like editing. I got to get better at that. He had a direct indictment on him. A direct indictment means they bypass the entire misdemeanor district court process, and they've already indicted him, and he goes straight to circuit court, felony court. So he gets to court, he sees the evidence or what have you. He's not trying to do a year and a half in the county jail, because that's often how long it takes to, fight your case when you're in the county jail. He's not trying to do that. So guess what? In Kentucky, they have what's called a rocket docket. A rocket docket means, listen, man, I see the evidence that you all have against me. I'm not trying to contest it. I can't beat you or I can't fight you. So give me the best deal that you can give me. He takes the rocket docket. They give him a 10-year offer. He takes, immediately, not immediately, immediately. See, immediately is urgent, but immediately is like now, not now actually, but right now. Get me out of this county jail. Get me back to the pen. I'm not trying to do his time. I'm going to probably end up hurting somebody being in here. Yeah, give me the 10 years and I'm gone. Only got to do, it wasn't violent, so he only had to do 2 years. I don't want to say only, as though I'm, lessening what he did or what have you. So he had to do 2 years before he went up for parole. In his mind, his whole thought process, he's trying to get back to Jarvis. Sure, he wanted to be home with his family, but he understood, I'm not getting home to my family right now. So now I'm back in bit mode, but I'm in the county jail. I don't have anything. I can't even write Jarvis because I don't even have the, I know the inmate. I know the address rather to the penitentiary, but I don't have the number. I don't have the inmate number. And back then, if you didn't have an inmate number, it wasn't getting through. So we sent the letter anyway, and the letter never reached Jarvis because he didn't have Jarvis's, once again, inmate number. He gets through the county jail. He sits in the county jail maybe 3 or 4 months. The process is over with. He pleads guilty. Like I said, they give him the 10 years. Next thing you know, he's back at the Rotary Farm. He's at the Rotary Farm. Once again, he has to go through the whole process again, getting a physical evaluation, mental evaluation, getting classified or what have you. He knew the caseworker. Him and his caseworker had been cool. The caseworker remembered. He explained the situation to him like, listen, man, I thought I was going home on parole, but this happened. Boom, boom, boom. Is there any way you can get me back to Lee Adjustment Center? Please help me. Now, the caseworker said, well, I'll do my best, but, I can't promise you that I can get you back because it's about bed space. And one thing that Melvin had going for him, he was really good with fixing things. Like he was a kind of like a mechanic type dude. So if you know how to fix things, or if you're a plumber, or you know how to, electrician or build stuff or carpentry or whatever, a lot of penitentiaries, you'll have a better chance of getting to where you want to go because they need that. They don't want to pay somebody else $35, $40 an hour when they can pay you $1 a day to come in and do the exact same thing. Lo and behold, he gets back to Lee County. He's happy. Oh man, he's happier than a bag of you digs. We'll just keep it at that. He's happier than a bag of you digs. You know what I mean? So he gets back to Lee County. He gets off at Grey Goose. Grey Goose is the bus that they take you, that you travel in Kentucky. Every state has a bus, but in Kentucky it's called the Grey Goose. You can't see really too much outside of the everything's barred up or whatever. It's just a penitentiary bus. You all seen the movies or whatever. He gets back to Lee County. When he gets off the bus, damn, bro, because nobody knew that he was back into custody when he walked out. Damn, bro, you back already? It's 4 or 5 months. He's back. Little did Jarvis know that he was coming back. Now, at the same time, when all this was going on, Jarvis' heart was broke. Jarvis' heart was broke because Jarvis hadn't heard from Big Melvin the entire time. So he just felt like, okay, well, shoot, Big Melvin done got out, went back, got him a wife, or got back with his girl, whatever, and then went on. So guess what? Jarvis went on. Jarvis was living with Big Hitter. Yeah, Big Hitter. That's the real name, Big Hitter. Now, Big Hitter, about the same size. Matter of fact, he was bigger than Big Melvin. Big Hitter was probably about 6'3", 6'4". Not really that big. He was big and cut up, don't get me wrong, but not like 260 or nothing like that. Probably about, 225, 230. Man, Big Hitter, you know why they call Big Hitter Big Hitter? Because Big Hitter was cold on that softball field. I'm talking about he come up to bat, man. He hit the ball so far over the fence, man. Like, say the fence was 350 feet. That's just Big Hitter was hitting it 450 feet. So that was the name, Big Hitter. They used to pay Big Hitter to play on the softball team. That's how cold he was. And he could hoop too, man. You know what I mean? So he was younger than, he wasn't that much younger. Because as I mentioned, Big Melvin was probably about 31, 32. I would say Big Hitter was probably 28. So they was relatively close in age. Wasn't no prejudice, dude. He wasn't a skinhead. He ain't see no swastika tattoos on him. But he was a big dude, stayed in the weight pal. And he was just a cool dude. He had a clique. I don't know the name of that clique, but he had a clique. And, they was a good, 12, 13, 15 deep. Well, Big Melvin had a clique as well. Even though people didn't approve of what he did, some of them probably was doing the same thing. But he had a clique just as well. And I don't want to go too deep into the story right now. You know what? It's a story. So I'm going to go a little bit into it. But he had his clique. He hits the yard. Instantly, he finds out that Jarvis is in the room or in the cell with you know who? Big Hitter. immediately it's a problem. Immediately it's a problem. Because Big Melvin feel like, nah, man, that's mine. That's my boo. That's my boonopolis. I don't say that. That's what Big Melvin said. That's my boonopolis. What you mean? She's in the cell. These are the words of Big Melvin with another dude. Instantly, as I mentioned, it was a problem. Big problems. Jarvis, I would imagine, was scared to death. Once the word got around that Big Melvin was back on the yard. So they end up seeing each other, what have you. That wasn't going to bode well. Because at this point, Big Hitter, you know, it's belongs to me now. And that's how it is in the penitentiary. You ain't supposed to be talking to no dudes. You ain't supposed to be engaging or anything like that. You mine. In the words of guys that get down like that. So it was friction. Jarvis, I would imagine, wanted to really just didn't know what was torn. You've been gone. You didn't write me. You didn't call me. I mean, well, not call me, but you know, I never heard nothing from you. Damn, baby. I couldn't. The words of Melvin, not Ken's. I couldn't, man. I was stuck. I ain't have your inmate number. I tried to write you, but the letter came back or what have you or whatever. I did whatever I could do. I did my best to make sure I got here with you. But now you with this dude. So now the two was, it was friction on the yard. If it's friction between two cliques, it may not start off with two cliques, but you got one person, which was Melvin's clique. Then you got, you got one person actually. That's Melvin. Then he has his clique. Then you got, you know, Big Hitter, and he got his clique. So ultimately, everybody's going to end up getting involved. Hit the fan one day, win the weight pal. And everybody's in the weight pal. The weight pal in prison, at this particular prison, is dirt floors. Everything was, you know, the free weights or what have you. But it's like under a shack. But they don't have any sides to it or whatever. There's no sides. So you in there and one word was said, the next word was said. Next thing you know, they get to fight. They get to fighting in the weight pal. A couple people get split with the weights. That's part of the reason why they took the weights, the free weights, off of the penitentiary yards, and they no longer have free weights. A couple people ended up getting split. Nobody got killed, but it was just a brawl, and them guys really, really went at it. Well, at the end of the day, everybody got locked up. Melvin got locked up, and when I say locked up, sent to the hole. His clique, the majority of them, and the same with Big Hitter and his clique. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. It started off with Big Melvin and Heavy Hitter, or Big Hitter rather. They was fighting. And Big Hitter was taking a look at Melvin. And taking a look means he was whooping Melvin, man. Melvin was big, he was strong or whatever, and he was in shape, but man, he ain't had nothing for Big Hitter. Now, oftentimes when a white dude and a black dude fights on the yard, it sets off a daggone race war. Sometimes, not all the time. Because you got your white dudes and they feel as though, you know, the great white hype or whatever, he whooped dude or whatever. So now some of them guys that can't even fight or can't fight as well, they think that, you know, they're tougher than what they really are. And then the black dudes, they feel as though, oh man, I never let a white dude whoop me, which I don't know what the hell where they got that from. Even in 2001, them dudes is crazy if they think that. So, you know, it's a whole lot of conflict going back and forth or what have you. But at the end of the day, they locked everybody down, locked the yard down. Officers, man, when they might give one warning shot. They got that gun, they got the guards tower, and they got that shotgun, man. And people know it, but they'll still go through and fight or whatever. Once they give that warning shot, man, you better get down and you're going to get dealt with. You're going to get somebody about to get killed around this bitch. That's just how it is in the penitentiary. So they went back through and got all the guys that they were able to see on surveillance, locked them up. Well, they do an investigation. This particular day, Jarvis doesn't get locked up. Jarvis don't have anything to do with it as far as... Really, Jarvis don't have anything to do with it, period. It was just Jarvis was the common denominator. They did their research. They did their investigations. Come to find out, Jarvis was the common denominator. As I mentioned, they locked Jarvis up under investigation, sent him off the yard. So everybody's gone. They eliminate the problem. They send, you know, certain amount of people to this prison, certain amount of people to this prison, Jarvis to this prison. Everybody's separated. Now, the basis of this story is this. In prison, there are certain cardinal sins that you just don't do. You don't gamble. You try to stay off at basketball court. You don't borrow. You try not to loan anybody anything. You definitely don't tell. And you don't, under no circumstances, mess with another man's man. Damn, did that even sound right? But another man's significant other. That will get your noodle split, all pushed all the way backwards in the penitentiary. Dudes is openly whatever they are. They can be married out here on the streets, but in there, they do what they do. Ain't no hiding it. And dudes still kind of respect them because, I mean, what you gonna do, man? This dude's a gorilla, man. You know what I mean? It ain't like he's no punk. He just likes what he likes. I don't condone it, but I'm just saying he likes what he likes. You do not mess with another dude's, we're going to just say property, because that's just what it is. In there, you my property. Not my property, but this is how, Big Hitter and guys like that, Melvin, look at it. This is my property. You don't touch, you don't talk to, this is my property. And when you do stuff like that and you creeping around or you saying little things, because there's a whole lot of dudes that do that, because there's not very many of them. You see what I'm saying? You might have 1,000 dudes on the yard and you might have, I don't know. You might only have a small percentage of people like Jarvis. Man, that was a wild time. First time in the penitentiary, and I'm seeing all of this. I'm on the yard, and I'm seeing this going down. It's like main event out there. Saturday night main event, man. I'm talking about they throwing. I'm talking about they out there just throwing hands, man. Them dudes can really, really fight, and they fought hard. But at the end of the day, like I was mentioning, man, hopefully you never find yourself in that predicament, in that situation. But if you do, stay away from that. Stay away from that, because that right there, man, it'll mess around and get you killed. I say get your noodle pushed backwards, aka get your wig split, but you might get killed, man, because they not playing about that. I never found out what happened, nor was I trying to find out what happened once they got separated. I would imagine that, they stayed in touch and as long as they could, but Jarvis probably went to another facility, which Jarvis did go to another facility, and met somebody else, and it probably went the same way there. You see what I'm saying? Dudes be gone, man, off him, the transgenders in the pen, man. They be gone off him transgender. They be gone off just regular, guys that like guys. But to someone that appears to be opposite sex, such as a transgender, and I have no problem with transgenders. I have no problems with people that like what they like or what have you. I'm just simply telling a story. Dudes are not playing, man. We all heard the stories of, oh man, they walk around with Kool-Aid on their lips. I ain't never seen nobody with Kool-Aid on their lips, but I see the long hair. I see, the shaved legs or whatever, because they walk around in shorts. You see them. It ain't like you have to be staring at them or anything like that. And they keep it at a, what is it called? A lip gloss? Yeah. Whole lot of lip gloss on their lips. Stuff like that. Don't get caught messing around with no Jarvis, man. Because Jarvis, 9.99999 times out of 10 in the pen, Jarvis got a man. And Jarvis's man ain't just no regular man. It's going to be a big hitter or a big Melvin. You make the right choice. Real Kens TV. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this motherfucking Banky pound heat, guess what? You're amongst the first. You're amongst the first to receive. Shout out to Banky Pound. Shout out to my dog Nate G219, I believe. Y'all go check his prison channel out, man. Man, he got some fire over there. He's out of Indiana. Y'all go check him out, man. He's been a day one for me. And check him out, man. Nate G219. Hopefully I got the name right, because I don't have it in front of me. I'm not in the same car as I was earlier. And if I don't have the name right, I promise you I'm gonna make it up to you, man. Pause. Real Kens TV.